I thought my husband loved me, but he was secretly seeing my cousin. Everyone in my family pretended nothing was wrong, and it hurts the most. I need to write this down before I lose my mind completely, before the weight of what I've done crushes me into nothing. My name is Sarah, I'm 34, and 6 months ago I was married to the best man I've ever known. Was. Past tense. It started so small. That's what I keep telling, like it matters. Like the size of the first lie makes the avalanche any less devastating. My husband Jake and I had been together for 9 years, married for 5. We had 2 kids, Emma 7 and Liam 4. Jake worked in software development, I was a marketing manager. We had the house, the minivan, the weekend soccer games. We weren't passion and fireworks anymore, but we were solid. Safe, or so I thought. The truth, I was bored. God, I admitting that. I was bored with my predictable and I blamed Jake for it. He worked long hours. He forgot our anniversary 1 year. He fell asleep during movies. Normal stuff. Marriage stuff. But I built it in my head into this narrative that I was being neglected, that I deserved more attention, more excitement, more everything. Enter Marcus. He joined our company's regional office in March. Tall, charming, quick with compliments. He noticed my presentations. He laughed at my jokes. He made me feel seen in a way I convinced Jake hadn't in years. It was intoxicating and I was in. It started with coffee. Just coffee. 2 coworkers grabbing coffee, innocent. Except it wasn't, because I didn't tell Jake about it. I didn't mention that Marcus and I stayed an extra hour after the marketing meeting talking. I didn't say anything when Marcus started texting me funny memes at night. The first time I deleted a text message from Marcus, I felt a little thrill. Like I had a secret. Like I was interesting again instead of just mom and Jake's wife. I told it wasn't cheating because we weren't doing anything physical. Just talking, just friends. I was lying to and I knew it. The emotional affair probably lasted 6 weeks before it became physical. 6 weeks of late-night texts, of feeling my phone buzz and getting that hit of dopamine, of comparing Marcus's attention to Jake's exhaustion. Jake was working on a huge project, stressed and distant, and instead of supporting him I used it as justification. He's never around anyway. I told. He probably wouldn't even notice if I was gone. The night it happened, we had a work conference in the city. Jake couldn't come to the work dinner, because Emma had a dance recital. I remember being angry about that, angry that he chose our daughter over networking with me. How twisted is that? I was mad at my husband for being a good father. The dinner ran late. Marcus walked me back to the hotel. I invited him for one more drink. Every single decision was a choice. I chose all of it. We slept together in that hotel room and I felt alive. I felt desired. I felt like someone wanted me for me, not as a mother or a wife or an employee, just me. I also felt sick. The moment it was over, I felt sick. I came home the next morning and Jake had made pancakes with the kids. Emma ran and hugged me, told me she missed me. Liam was covered in syrup. Jake smiled and asked how the dinner went, no suspicion in his eyes whatsoever. He trusted me completely. I showered for 40 minutes that day. I couldn't get clean. But I didn't stop. That's the part I can't forgive for. It wasn't a one-time mistake. It was a choice I kept making over and over. Marcus and I kept seeing each other. Secret hotel rooms, long lunch breaks. I created an entirely separate built on lies. I got sloppy, or maybe part of me wanted to get caught. Maybe that's the only way to explain why I kept Marcus's name in my phone under his real name, instead of something coded. Why I didn't always delete the texts fast enough, why I didn't notice my behavior was changing, that I was distant with Jake, short with the kids, constantly on my phone. 3 months in, Jake asked if I was okay. He said I seemed stressed, asked if I needed to talk. I looked into his concerned face and lied. Told him work was overwhelming. He believed me. He always believed me. That's when Jake suggested we reconnect. He planned a whole weekend away, just us, got his mom to watch the kids. He had this whole itinerary, this adorable, dorky plan to visit the bed and breakfast where we'd spent our honeymoon. He was trying so hard to fix something he didn't even know was broken. Something he hadn't broken in the first place. I cancelled it. Told him I had a mandatory work training that weekend. His face fell but he just nodded, said we'd reschedule. That weekend I was with Marcus. The end came fast and brutal. Jake's company had a family picnic in June. I didn't want to go but couldn't think of a good reason to skip it. Marcus would be there with his wife. Yes, his wife. I knew he was married. That's another thing I have to live with. We were careful, we didn't interact much. But Jake is observant in ways I'd forgotten. He saw Marcus look at me. Really look at me. And he saw me look back. That night, after the kids were asleep, Jake asked me point blank, having an affair? I could have lied. Maybe I should have. But I was so tired of juggling 2 lives, tired of the guilt, tired of pretending. So I told him the truth. I will never forget the sound he made. It wasn't yelling. It was this broken gasp, like I'd physically wounded him. He just kept saying, why, over and over, not angry, devastated. I didn't have a good answer. I still don't. Jake didn't scream. I think that's what broke me most. He just collapsed inward. He sat on the edge of our bed, the bed we'd shared for 5 years, and stared at the floor. His hands were shaking. I'd never seen Jake's hands shake before. How long? He asked. 3 months. Ooh, Marcus. From work. He laughed then, not a real laugh. A hollow, bitter sound I'd never heard from him. The guy from the picnic. I knew. I saw how he looked at and I told I was being paranoid. I trusted. Past tense. He asked for details. I refused. He asked again, his voice breaking. I need to know what I'm dealing with, Sarah. I need to know how many times my wife chose someone else over me. So I told him. Not everything. Not the hotel rooms or the texts or the lies about work trainings. Just enough. Too much. With every word, I watched him break a little more. This man who'd held my hand through labor, who'd built Emma's treehouse himself, who'd never once raised his voice at me in 9 years. I watched him shatter. Jake asked. No. Then why? I didn't answer, couldn't answer, because I was bored. Sounds so pathetic. Because I wanted attention, makes me sound like a child. Because the truth is there was no good reason, no justification that makes sense even to me. Jake slept in the guest room that night. I heard him crying through the wall. I'd never heard Jake cry before, not at his father's funeral. Not ever. I did that to him. The next morning, he was gone before I woke. He'd left a note. Don't tell the kids anything yet. We need to figure this out. I need space. He stayed at his brother's house for a week. 7 days where I had to pretend to Emma and Liam that everything was fine, that Daddy was just on a work trip. Emma kept asking when he was coming home. Liam cried every night for him. I ended things with Marcus immediately. Sent him a text that said, "It's over. Don't contact me again." He called twice. I blocked his number. It felt like nothing. Closing that chapter was so easy it made the whole thing feel even more meaningless. I'd destroyed my marriage for something I could end with a text message. Jake came back after a week but nothing was the same. He moved his things into the guest room permanently. He was polite, cold, functional. He'd come home from work, help with the kids, then disappear into his room. We were roommates. Strangers. I begged him to go to counseling. He refused at first, said he needed time to think. Then finally agreed, but I could see in his eyes he'd already made a decision. The counseling was a formality. I'd killed whatever we had. The therapist asked what I wanted from the marriage. I said I wanted to fix it, to rebuild trust, to make things right. Jake said nothing. Just stared at his hands. She asked Jake what he wanted. He looked at me for the first time in days and said, "I want to not see her face every day, and remember that she chose someone else. I want to not wonder every time she's late from work if she's lying. I want to not the person I loved most in the world. Want." Present tense. He wanted those things and couldn't have them because of me. We tried for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of tension and silence and me walking on eggshells while Jake withdrew further and further. The kids noticed. Of course they noticed. Emma started having nightmares. Liam started acting out at preschool. They could feel the in the house, even if they didn't understand it. Then Jake's family found out. I don't know how. Maybe Jake told his brother and it spread. Maybe someone saw Marcus and me together before it ended. But suddenly his mom was calling crying, asking how I could do this to her son. His sister sent me a text that just said, "Destroyed him." They weren't wrong. My family found out next. My mother called, disappointed but trying to be supportive in that way mothers do. My dad didn't call at all. Radio silence. That more than I expected. My younger sister Emma, who we'd named our daughter after, sent me a long message about how I'd embarrassed the family, how everyone was talking about it, how she couldn't believe I'd thrown away a good man for an affair. The judgment from both families was crushing, but it was nothing compared to what came next. Jake filed for divorce in August. I knew it was coming. I'd felt it coming, but seeing the papers still felt like being hit by a truck. I sat in my car in the driveway and read through them shaking. He was asking for full custody of Emma and Liam. His lawyer had documented everything, my affair, my lies, the instability I'd brought into the children's lives. I called Jake panicking. Can't take my kids. Jake, please. I made a mistake, but I'm still their mother. His voice was ice. Should have thought about that before decided being someone's wife and mother wasn't exciting enough for. The custody battle was vicious. Jake's lawyer painted me as an unfit mother, a woman who'd chosen selfish pleasure over her family's stability. They brought every time I'd been late picking the kids, every work trip, every moment I'd chosen my career, or my affair over being present. They made me sound like a monster. My lawyer tried to argue that the affair had nothing to do with my ability to parent. The judge didn't seem convinced. He awarded Jake primary custody, me every other weekend and Wednesday nights. Every other weekend. I went from seeing my children every day to being a visitor in their lives. The first weekend they went to Jake's new apartment, Emma cried and begged to come home. Liam didn't understand why mommy and daddy didn't live together anymore. I had to explain to my 4-year-old that mommy made bad choices and now things were different. How do tell a child that? How do look into their innocent face and explain that or the reason their world fell apart? Work became unbearable. News of the affair had spread through the office. Marcus transferred to another branch, took his wife and left town. Lucky him. He got to escape. I had to stay and face the whispers, the judgment, the way conversations stopped when I entered the break room. My boss called me in for a chat about maintaining professionalism. HR opened an investigation into whether the affair company policy. I wasn't fired, but I was put on a performance improvement plan, which is corporate speak for, we're watching. I lost friends. Our couple friends, the ones we'd done game nights and barbecues with, they sided with Jake. Of course they did. Some stopped responding to my texts. Others sent messages saying they couldn't be friends with someone who'd do what I did. One friend, Jessica, told me straight, broke him, Sarah. We watched Jake become a shell of himself and did that. I can't look at the same. My social circle evaporated. The PTA moms at Emma's school whispered when I dropped her off. I overheard one call me, that woman who cheated on her husband, like it was my full name now. My identity became my worst choice. The house sold in September. Neither of us could afford it alone and neither of us wanted the memories. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. The kids' room there felt sad and temporary, nothing like their real rooms at Jake's place. They never called my apartment home. It was just Mom's place. Said with a slight sadness that killed me every time. My relationship with Emma changed most. She's 7, old enough to understand more than I wanted her to. She started asking questions. Why did Daddy leave? Why do we have 2 houses now? Did I do something wrong? That last question destroyed me. She thought she was the reason. I had to explain, age appropriately, that mommy had daddy and that's why things changed. I watched my daughter's image of me shift. I stopped being perfect in her eyes. I became someone who makes mistakes, big ones, the kind that break families. She wrote a story at school about her family. The teacher sent it home. In it, Emma wrote that she missed when everyone was happy together, and she wished people didn't break promises. The teacher had added a note suggesting family counseling. Liam was too young to articulate it, but he changed too. He became clingy when he was with me, like he was afraid I'd disappear. Then withdrawn when I dropped him back at Jake's, like he was protecting himself from getting too attached. At 4 years old, my son was already building walls. Jake started dating in October. I found out from Emma, who mentioned Daddy's friend Miss Amy, who came over for dinner. I felt physically sick, not because I wanted Jake back, not really, but because I'd lost the right to care. I'd given any claim to him. He was moving on and I had to watch it happen. I tried dating too, downloaded the apps, went on a few dates. But I couldn't do it. I'd sit across from these men and feel nothing but shame. How to explain or divorced because cheated, how to build something new when destroyed the last thing so completely. I deleted the apps after 3 weeks. The holidays were. Christmas was split custody. The kids spent Christmas morning with Jake, evening with me. I sat alone in my apartment that morning, imagining Emma and Liam opening presents without me, building new traditions that didn't include me. When they came over that night, exhausted and full of stories about their morning, I had to smile and pretend it didn't gut me. January came and I realized I'd survived 6 months of this new reality. Survived. That's all I was doing. Not living, surviving. My therapist, because of course I'm in therapy now, asked me what I'd learned. I almost laughed. What had I learned? That actions have consequences. That can't unbreak what's shattered. That some mistakes don't get fixed. They just get endured. I told her I learned that the person I thought I was, the good person, the good mother, she never really existed. She was just someone I pretended to be until it became inconvenient. The real me was capable of looking my husband in the eyes and lying. The real me was capable of risking my children's happiness for a few hours of feeling wanted. That's who I actually am. She said that wasn't helpful, that kind of thinking. But it's true. I know now in a way I didn't before, and what I see. Jake got engaged to Amy in February, 6 months. He moved on in 6 months. Emma told me, excited, talking about how nice Amy was, how she played dolls with her, how she made good pancakes. I listened and smiled and said I was happy for them. Then I went into my bathroom, and not because I wanted Jake back. I need to be clear about that. I didn't want him back. I wanted to not have destroyed him in the first place. I wanted the version of R where I'd never met Marcus, never made that first choice to have coffee, never burned down everything we'd built. But that version doesn't exist. I killed it. Amy was good to my kids. That was the worst part. I couldn't even her. She was kind to Emma and Liam. She didn't try to replace me, didn't overstep. She was just there, present, stable, everything I'd failed to be. I saw them together once by accident. I was picking the kids from Jake's apartment and Amy was leaving as I arrived. She was pretty in a natural, effortless way. She smiled at Jake like he hung the moon. He smiled back. I recognized that smile. It was the way he used to look at me, before I taught him that love was something to be weaponized and destroyed. Sarah. Amy said, polite, kind even. The kids are almost ready. I just nodded. What do say to the woman who's living the Allah way? My mother tried to reconcile with me in March. She invited me to lunch, said we needed to talk. I went, hoping for support, for understanding. Instead, she spent an hour telling me how disappointed she was. How she'd raised me better than this. How Jake was a good man and I'd never find better. Had everything. She said, crying. A husband who loved. Beautiful children. Stability. And it away for what? A fling. What we're thinking. I wasn't thinking. That was the problem. I was feeling. Feeling bored. Feeling neglected. Feeling entitled to more. I'd mistaken feelings for truth and acted on them without considering the cost. My dad still won't speak to me. My sister sends obligatory texts on birthdays but nothing else. I've become the family embarrassment, the cautionary tale. My cousin got married last month. I wasn't invited. My own family didn't want me there. Work stabilized but I'll never advance now. I'm competent enough to keep my job but the affair killed any chance of promotion or growth. I'm frozen in place, watching younger colleagues move past me. My boss treats me professionally but distantly. Like I'm someone who can't be trusted with important things. He's not wrong. The worst days are the ones where I don't have the kids. Empty weekends stretch out endlessly. I clean my apartment that doesn't need cleaning. I watch shows I don't care about. I avoid social media because seeing other people's happy families feels like looking at a I used to have and destroyed. I tried reaching out to old friends a few times. Most didn't respond. One, Lisa, agreed to meet for coffee. I thought maybe, finally, someone would understand. Someone would see that I'm drowning in regret and throw me a line. Instead, she told me she only agreed to meet to tell me in person that she couldn't be my friend anymore. I have daughters. She said, what kind of example would I be setting if I stayed friends with someone who did what did? Made a choice. Now have to live with it. She wasn't cruel about it. That made it worse. She was matter of fact. Like she was explaining something obvious that I should already understand. Emma started therapy in April. She was having panic at school, afraid something bad would happen to split her family further. The therapist called it anxiety related to family instability. I did that to her. My 7-year-old daughter is in therapy because her mother couldn't keep her together. The therapist suggested I write Emma a letter, explaining things in an age-appropriate way. I must have started that letter 20 times. How to explain infidelity to a child, how to make a 7-year-old understand that mommy broke daddy's heart, and that's why everything changed. I settled on, sometimes grown ups make mistakes that the people they love. I made a very big mistake that daddy and I'm so sorry. None of this is fault. Both Daddy and I love and Liam more than anything. She never responded to the letter. Never mentioned it. I don't know if she read it or if Jake it away. Maybe it doesn't matter. Liam stopped calling me mommy. Started calling me mom, formal, distant. He's 5 now. 5 years old and already building distance between us. He's more comfortable with Amy than with me at this point. I'm losing him and I have no one to blame but I dated someone briefly in May, Tom, a divorced dad who seemed understanding when I finally explained my situation. We lasted 3 weeks before he ended it. Said he couldn't get past what I'd done, that it made him not trust me. I could do it to someone we're married to, what would stop from doing it to me? He asked. Nothing, I wanted to say. Nothing stops someone like me because someone like me justifies and rationalizes and makes excuses until the inexcusable seems reasonable. Jake and Amy got married in June. A small ceremony. The kids were in the wedding. I saw pictures on Emma's tablet before she could hide it. Jake looked happy. Genuinely happy. He'd found someone who didn't destroy him. Someone who built him instead of tearing him down. Good for him, I mean that. He deserves happiness after what I did to him. But seeing those pictures, seeing my children dressed for their father's wedding to someone else, it hit me I've been replaced. Not just as Jake's partner, but in my children's daily lives. Amy tucks them in more nights than I do. Amy helps with homework. Amy goes to school events. I'm the every other weekend mom, the one they visit out of obligation. Last month, Emma asked if she could call Amy mom too, not replace me. She assured me, just add Amy as another mom. I said yes, because what else could I say? But I cried for 2 days after. My apartment lease is in 3 months. I'm thinking of moving to a different city, starting over somewhere no one knows my story. But then I'd lose even more time with Emma and Liam. I'm trapped between a where I'm constantly reminded of what I destroyed, and the possibility of escape that means abandoning my children further. I saw Marcus once, from a distance, a few months ago. He was with his wife at a restaurant. They looked happy. Reconciled, maybe. Or maybe she never found out. Maybe he got away with it while I lost everything. The unfairness of that burned, but only for a moment. He didn't force me into anything. Every choice was mine. Sometimes I imagine what would be like if I could go back. If I could take back that first coffee with Marcus, delete that first text, say no to that hotel room. I imagine Jake still trusting me. Emma and Liam sleeping in their own beds every night instead of shuttling between houses. Family dinners and inside jokes and ordinary, boring, beautiful normalcy. But I can't go back, I can only go forward, and forward looks bleak. I'm 35, divorced, alienated from my family, limited custody of my kids, stuck in a dead-end job, and completely alone. This is my now. This is what I chose, even if I didn't realize that's what I was choosing at the time. My therapist asks what I want for the future. I don't know how to answer. I want my kids to be okay, despite me. I want Jake to be happy, which he seems to be. I want to stop waking hating, though I'm not sure I deserve that. What I really want is impossible. I want to not be the person who did this. But I am that person. I'll always be that person. The woman who had everything and destroyed it because she was bored. The mother who damaged her children because she wanted attention. The wife who betrayed someone who loved her completely. People ask if I've learned from this, like that matters. Like learning makes it better. Yes, I've learned. I've learned that the cost of selfish choices doesn't get paid all at once. It gets paid every day, in small moments of loss and regret. I've learned that some betrayals can't be forgiven, shouldn't be forgiven. I've learned that can't outrun choices, they follow everywhere. I've learned that excitement and attention and feeling wanted, those things fade. They disappear like smoke, but what destroy to get them stays destroyed. Last week was Liam's 5th birthday. Both families were there at Jake's house. His family, Amy's family, my kids. I wasn't invited to the party. I got Liam during my scheduled time the next day, after the celebration was over. He told me all about it, about the bounce house and the cake and all his friends. He was happy. Happy without me. I gave him his present. Watched him open it with mild interest. Then he asked if he could call Dad to tell him about it. He couldn't wait until he got home to share it with his real family. I was just the obligation he had to get through every other weekend. Sometimes I think about writing Jake a letter. A real apology, not the weak attempts I made a year ago. But what would I say? Sorry isn't big enough. Sorry doesn't unbreak trust. Sorry doesn't give him back the year of his he spent in pain because of me. Sorry doesn't undo the damage to our children. So I don't write it. I just exist in this half I created, watching from the outside as my former family builds anew without me. I thought I was smart enough to have an affair without consequences. I thought I could compartmentalize, keep it separate, that what Jake didn't know wouldn't him. I thought I deserved more than ordinary, faithful love. I was wrong about all of it. This is my warning to anyone reading this, anyone thinking about making the choice I made. The momentary thrill isn't worth it. The attention, the excitement, the feeling of being wanted, it's all temporary. But what destroy is permanent. Partners' trust, children's security, families' respect, own integrity. Don't get those things back, don't rebuild from this. Just learn to live in the rubble of what demolished. I had a good man who loved me. I had beautiful children who felt safe. I had a boring, stable, ordinary that was actually extraordinary because it was real and it was mine and it was enough. I hid all away because I confused being bored with being unhappy. Now I know the difference. Now, when I'm actually alone, actually unhappy, actually living with the consequences of destroying my family, I'd give anything to go back to those boring Tuesday nights, to Jake falling asleep during movies, to the predictable rhythm of a faithful marriage. But that is gone. I killed it, and every day I wake in this empty apartment, another weekend away from my children, another year older and more isolated, I understand more clearly what I lost.